Hey Acers, and welcome to this week's Ace Role-Playing Games podcast thingy. That's what I call it every week because I still haven't managed to put it up as a podcast. So, apologies. But, that said, welcome, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we made it another week, and in spite of all of our hardships and struggles, we're still here. And that's the best part about it. So, this week, I've decided I'm going to go ahead and just start doing my long format. I'm going to start doing my long formats based on what I've kind of already covered, and I'm kind of repeating some of the stuff, but I'm going to go in depth. This time, we're going to look at the hooks again, and I'm continuing to do a short on specific ones, but this one is going to go in depth into the hook. And the first hook that we're going to go into is the business, corporate, or it's your job. Now, as I get started here, again, a shout out to all of my new friends that I made last weekend at FanX, and especially I do want to give a shout out to the fact that I got shouted out in a short or in a full video here. Let me pause and find the name of the video real quick. There it is. I found it. It's Jordan's Jocular Junction. And Jordan is spelled with a PH in the middle that it is silent. So Jordan's Jocular Junction. That's who you need to check him out. Go check him out. I'll put a link to his channel down below. And I highly recommend him. He's pretty darn cool. Also, I got to meet a guy who looked like Isaac Asimov at the con, and he has Sacred Cow Shipyards. And that one's a pretty cool one too. So shout out to both of them. Regardless, I do think that going through all these different options for mysteries is helpful. And why do I choose to do mysteries? I went through the generator last week or the week before. I think it was the week before. Yeah. But anyway, I went through this generator, and why do I keep coming back to it? It's because ultimately any sort of a story that we're going to explore in a role-playing game, almost any single one of them, is a mystery. I mean, even a romantic one could be a mystery. And it wouldn't necessarily need to involve the darker side of things, the murders and the kidnappings and things like that. But it could involve somebody sent you a love letter. But we don't know who it is. But somebody loves you. What a concept. And so then we go about using our coy and popular society ways of finding out. Oh, did Mr. James actually send that letter to you, Miss Cotswold? No, Mr. James did not, for he is currently dating your best friend. So if it's not him, who else could it be? And those kind of things. And that's what I'm going to try and do with these detailed videos that I'm going to go into, is I'm going to try and give a deep dive and give you some ideas that you might be able to grab and just use them as a start to a campaign or even a one-shot. Now, like the differences between building a campaign and building a one-shot are definitely there. And I will say that, yes, a one-shot is typically more on rails. A one-shot typically requires you to kind of force the players to make the choice you want them to make. Now, as a parent, I call these a parent's choice. It's the kind we give to our little children, and sometimes even to our teenagers. And that is, do you want to eat dinner, take a bath, and then read your book before bedtime? Or do you want to eat dinner, read your book, and then take a bath before bedtime? So either way, they're going to be eating dinner, they're going to be reading a book, and they're going to be taking a bath, and then going to bed. So those options are already made. Those choices are already made for them. But it's the order that they choose the choices in. And so that sets up clocks, that sets up the pressure like I talked about last week. These are important things that actually make it so you can engage your players in a storyline. Now, if it's more freeform, or if it's open, if it's a campaign, then this is just a good place to get them started. I've mentioned before my superhero analogy, or not analogy, but like hook, of the superheroes in their normal everyday street clothes, are sitting in a cafe having lunch, and suddenly the bells on the bank across the street start ringing, and just as they start standing up to say, "Well, that looks like a job for the super team," that at the same moment the TV up there is broadcasting, and there's a horrible fire at the Three Arms apartment building. So now they have a choice, and they have to decide: are we going to rescue the people at the Three Arms apartment building, or are we going to rescue the people who are right across the street in the bank? The difference is it's there. It's a hard choice, and hard choices are part of what we need to do for our role players. Hard choices are the bread and butter of a role playing game. And if you can make more hard choices, and if you can give that pressure, if you can give a greater strain, a greater threat to the player characters, then you are going to be able to move forward and find a way to, with your players, create a great story. So let's talk about a great story. Let's talk about this. We have the first hook is a business or corporate or ruling authority of some sort gives your player characters the job, because it is their job. Maybe their higher authority is their boss at the detective agency. So that would be kind of a business reason. Maybe the job is given to them because they have a detective agency and they are now coming in at this detective agency ready to do their job, and this happens to be the client who comes in. Whatever it is either business or personal that launches them, and it is what is going to fuel their moving forward. Now, if it's a king, let's say the king. Well, actually, why would it be the king? Maybe your characters are brand new and they don't actually have a reason to even know the king. So let's say this is one of the king's advisors, or even just somebody from the city watch. Okay, my perfect and favorite example is in the one sheet Tomb of Terror from Pinnacle Entertainment, which, yes, very much is a nod to Tomb of Horrors. The head of the city guard who remains in town, while the actual head has gone off with the major heroes. They're like a couple advances higher than you, maybe even like full ranks higher than you. They've gone off to try and find where the zombies were headed when they took off to the north, after having put up with the siege for days. And now they're headed north. And the head of the remaining watchmen, and while the other watchmen are all kind of down for the count, he comes in and says to you, "Oh, I'm glad I found you guys. There's something really concerning. Come with me real quick, please." And so you guys stand up from the table where you've been hearing your names as part of the songs that are praising the heroes who stood for Socanth and for its intense battle against the necromancer and his hordes of zombies that he raised up. Thomas Oaken, who used to be one of the town healers, but something went wrong and he got hurt emotionally and he turned against the town. And now he tried to raid it with zombies, and you guys were called in and you helped save it. And now the head of the guard is coming in saying, "Come on, please, real quick." So you go out with him, and he takes you out to the streets and points, and you see rats just coming up out of the sewers and running down the streets. And they're coming up as fast as they possibly can. And he says, "Rats don't leave the sewers unless something even worse than rats is down there. I need you guys to." I think one of the zombies might have gotten in through the release gate, or the where the sewers open onto the river. And I need you to go down there and find that zombie and take care of it. So for a small party of adventurers, this is a great place to start. And we're just going to take our standard fantasy characters and go into the standard fantasy sewer, and we're going to get rid of these zombies. There might be one or two in there, no worries. But as you go in, first of all, you don't find any zombies. But through search, you find it's actually quiet. And yes, this sewer does fill in lower with the river and gets rinsed out into the river because it used to be the sewer for a much larger, sorry, there's a fruit fly flying around me, much larger area. So this this whole the town that's here of Socanth is a small bit of what used to be a large metropolis of Socanth. And so what you guys end up finding is as you push through a wall that's crumbling in part of the sewer, you find yourselves in a large catacomb filled with hundreds and thousands of corpses of people who had died when the metropolis of Socanth was hit with a plague. And now you realize that maybe Okan isn't leading those zombies away. And the big heroes are gone. It's up to you. See, look at how that hook works for you. Look how it brings you in. And you're hooked. You're ready to go now. Now, could we use this same scenario as perhaps in a modern sense? Could we use it in a modern day sense? Well, yeah. Just modern fantasy, playing modern characters, and we could even still use zombies. Well, there we go. Or what about the idea of trying to do this in a science fiction? Well, there's a great sci-fi game called Necropolis. I can't remember the year is after it, but basically humanity lands on this huge planet that happens to be a necropolis, and it happens to have zombies on it. So, I mean, you can use this in any genre at all. And that's the great thing about these mysteries, and that's why I keep coming back to them, is because they can be used in any genre. So put in the comments below how you might want to use a business or corporate or higher authority that gives you the assignment to go in and do the job. And how might you find a way to do a better job or a different job? What kind of a job do you think that person might give you? Now, that's the great thing about this case generator, is it gives you the thing that you're going to be solving. And while the zombies in the sewers don't necessarily fall into some of the other categories that are in the case generator, that's one that you can add when you're doing it. And it's just simply working through it and going forward and figuring this out. So that's what I have to say about this. I hope that you found this entertaining, and I hope that you are going to be able to find a way to use zombies in the sewers. Or, hey, here's a cyberpunk version of it. You're being called into a derelict corporate building, and there are cyber zombies in there. And what I mean by cyber zombies are people who have had too many cybernetics implanted in their heads and in their bodies that they've gone cyber psychosis, and they now essentially are no longer human. How might you do that? Anyway, that's what I'm giving you guys as a prompt this week. Zombies in the sewers. So I will go to the existing contact one next week, but that one there is again going to be, I'm going to try and give you some examples from all the genres that I can possibly think of off the top of my head, and we can go forward from there. So there's lots of cool stuff, lots of neat stuff. I mean, think of it this way. Even in Firefly, when they go to the planet that is where the Reavers started, the Reavers are essentially zombies. They're also kind of Indians, but they're kind of, it's a whole bunch of things, but still, Reavers you can treat like zombies. So just remember, keep your ideas loose enough that you can apply it to whatever you guys have decided to run. Well, with that said, remember, if nobody's told you this week, I love you. You're amazing. You are awesome. And the world is a better place because you are in it. Stick around. It does get better. And there are even hardships as a grown-up. But because I have you, because I have my friends that I game with, because I have those that I love, I know that I can make it through this time. And even though it's been hard for me to be a professional looking for the next company to help, and I've hardly had any success so far, I know that I will be okay because I'm supported by those who love me. and those who are my friends. So I'm your friend, and I'm glad that you're here, and I hope to see you at my table. Until next week, this is Mason Emerson from Ace Role Playing Games, signing off.